Hello everyone, this is Muhammad Tuhami from Midway Simplicity and welcome to a new episode of the Midway Simplicity Show, where this year the theme of the show is Where Passion Meets Simplicity, and I'm inviting simple living advocates to share with you how simplifying your life can help you pursue your passions and what matters most to you. And I have a very special guest today with a very interesting story and lifestyle. He is Niall Doherty, the author of the Cargo Ship Diaries. It's sort of a memoir of Niall's 2.5 years traveling around the world without flying. So in this interview, we will discover how he found a passion for traveling without flying, and the highs, the lows, and the lessons learned throughout his travels, and how minimalism helped him pursue his passion for traveling around the world. Niall, thank you very much for being with me today, and I'm very excited to hear your insights.
Thanks for having me, Tahami. I'm really glad to be here. I've seen a few of your past interviews, and I know you always ask great questions, so I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you. So let's start by the transformational point in your life. So what got you into this idea of traveling the world without flying?
Yeah, well, I've had a few transformational points, I think, but the one that got me to living this lifestyle was about 4 years ago. I was living and working in New Orleans in the USA. I'm from Ireland, but I went over there to work for a few years. And I had a nice 9-to-5 job working for a university, and I was obsessed with basketball. That's actually the reason I moved to New Orleans in the first place. My favorite basketball team played there. So I was working 9 to 5, and then in my spare time I was going to a lot of basketball games. I was writing about basketball. I ran a website about the team. And at a certain point, I kind of just asked myself, is this really what I want to be doing with my life? You know, do I really want to just be working 9 to 5, not really growing? I mean, the job was good, but it wasn't stretching me at all. I wasn't really learning a lot from it. And the basketball obsession on the side, I was kind of thinking, you know, I'm spending a lot of time devoted to following and writing about 10 guys chasing a ball around a wooden floor. Like, is that really the legacy I want to leave behind? And at the same time, I've been following a few blogs online, such as Colin Wright, who's a past guest of yours. It's actually my first interview I've seen of yours. And Everett Bogue was another one. He was used to be a big minimalist blogger, and Chris Guillebeau. So I've seen guys like this who are working online and traveling a lot, or at least had the ability to travel if they wanted to. And I thought to myself, I should be able to do that. No reason why I couldn't do that. They don't have anything that I don't have or that I can't learn. So it all just kind of came to me one day where I was just like, why am I still here in New Orleans? Why am I still working 9 to 5? Why am I not traveling? And I just made the decision that day, and very soon after handed in my notice in work, and a few months later I was quitting my job and setting off into the unknown.
Awesome. So you just made that decision because you were inspired by other people who are almost living a lifestyle that you are passionate about. But you had no plans of what you are going to do. You just, since someone did it, then I can do it, so let's give it a try.
Pretty much. I mean, I had some savings, so I knew, you know, I had a little buffer there. I didn't have to figure things out immediately. I did think it would be easier than it has been. You know, you really only hear the success stories online, right? And so you see people like Colin Wright and Chris Guillebeau, but you don't see the 100 or 1,000 others who tried to do what they did and either failed or struggled a lot to get there. And even guys like Chris Guillebeau and Colin Wright, I mean, they definitely had their struggles. It's not like it came easy for them.
Definitely.
But yeah, it's weird because you kind of need that blind optimism a little bit, you know, to just get you out there and take the leap, and then you kind of just figure it out as you go. Whereas if you had a very realistic idea of what it was going to be like, you might not even try it.
Yeah.
So that childlike optimism can be useful.
So, and then when you decided to travel that way, why did you decide exactly that you are going to travel without flights, you know?
Yeah, I often ask myself the same question. Because it's not always easy.
Yeah, definitely. Crossing oceans specifically, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I didn't start this right away after I quit my job. It was about a year later that I took off on this round the world trip without flying, and the plan was to do one complete circumnavigation going east and arrive back in Ireland from the west. And I've been doing it 2.5 years now, and I've given myself about 4 years to do the whole thing. And I just crossed the Pacific and arrived in the Americas. So I did that on a cargo ship. So it's 26 days crossing the Pacific Ocean on a cargo ship. That was, people ask me, are you doing it for environmental reasons? Are you doing it to save money? No, neither of those things. I don't think it's any better environmentally, because that cargo ship, for example, burning 150 tons of fuel every day. So I'm not sure if that's really good for the environment. And it's expensive. It would have been probably 1/4 of the price to fly across the Pacific than what it cost me to go across on the cargo ship.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it's expensive. And I think the reason is because the cargo ship companies don't really care. You know, they're carrying multi-million-dollar cargoes. So I guess they figure if we're going to take passengers, we might as well make it worth our while. So they charge a pretty high price for it.
Wow. So what's the reason?
So the reason is, it's mainly 3 reasons why I do this and why I started doing it in the first place. One is the challenge of it. I like a challenge. I feel like I grow a lot from challenging myself. So I figured trying to go all the way around the world without flying would certainly be a challenge. So, and it has proven to be. Getting across the Pacific wasn't easy. Getting out of India was actually very difficult without flying. I was stuck there for a little while. Almost, I thought I would have to give up. I didn't think it would be possible, but I managed to find a way out. Then the second reason would be the adventure of it. So when you don't fly, you end up traveling through some random places you never thought you'd visit. And I like that random aspect to my travels. And I've definitely had some amazing experiences in the places I passed through just because I had to, not because I wanted to. So one of the best examples would be Iran. I never would have visited Iran, except that was kind of on the way to India without flying. And I just had an amazing experience there. I met so many kind-hearted people. It was just fantastic. And I've had that in several places now. And usually they're the places that, you wouldn't think of when you ask people, where would you like to go? Where would you like to travel to? And then the third reason would be the story of it. I think it just makes for a more interesting story. I mean, I'm not afraid to admit that I like attention. And when you tell people you're traveling around the world, they're like, "Oh, that's interesting." But then when you tell them I'm trying to do it with no flying, then they're, you have their ear for a bit.
You definitely got my ear and got my attention. Definitely, that's why we're doing the interview now. And I hope one day you will pass through Egypt through Suez Canal.
I would like to. I don't think I'll be able to on this trip now because I've kind of been through that side of the world already.
Okay. Okay.
But I do hope to do a big Africa trip because I wanted to go to Africa on this trip. I even looked into crossing the Mediterranean, but it didn't. I think if I remember right, because this was over 2 years ago, it was easy to get over, but not easy to get back. So I'll have to save Africa for its own big trip some other time.
Interesting. So that is now we kind of highlighted the crazy part of your passion. This is passion, and passion has its own language, its own magic. You do crazy things when you are passionate about something. But now let's move into the simplicity part. We need to see where passion meets simplicity. How simple living and minimalism and living a simpler lifestyle helped you pursue that passion of traveling around the world. So, any lessons would you like to share with us? How simple living can enable people to pursue their passions easily, lightly?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was big for me. And again, people like Colin Wright were a good model for me to follow, because I saw that minimalism and simplifying his life really helped him live that travel lifestyle. So when I was in New Orleans and I made this decision that I wanted to travel the world and work for myself, I realized I couldn't do that unless I simplified everything. So the first thing, the obvious thing, is possessions. You know, I'd only been living in New Orleans 3 years, but I'd accumulated quite a lot of stuff. I had I was renting an apartment. I had a desk. I had a big screen TV. I had 4 baseball caps. I never even wore baseball caps, and yet I had 4 of them. Ridiculous things like that. So I very consciously started whittling down the items. I donated a lot of stuff, gave things away to friends, sold a lot, and I basically wanted to be leaving New Orleans just with carry-on luggage, because I flew out of New Orleans back to Ireland. And I was able to do that. And it was such a sense of freedom, knowing that, like, I'm not leaving anything behind. I'm carrying everything with me. I only have the essentials. There's nothing really dragging me down. Another big thing I did in New Orleans, to save money before I quit my job, I moved out of my apartment and I started house sitting. So I did house sitting for maybe 3 months in New Orleans, saved a lot of money that way, because I was paying about $800 a month on rent. So that helped a lot.
So house sitting, I don't know about house sitting, maybe it's not familiar in my side of the world. So what's house sitting?
Okay. Yeah, well, house sitting is basically you offer to, you work out an arrangement with someone who owns a house or an apartment that when they're away, maybe they're traveling or maybe they own multiple homes, but they want somebody in that home to look after it, maybe to water plants, just to reduce the risk of burglary. If there's someone actually living there, it's less chance that the house would be broken into and vandalized. One of the houses I was house sitting in, I worked that out because the owner had 2 dogs, and he had to travel a lot for work. So in exchange for looking after his dogs and mowing the lawn, he basically let me live in his house for free.
And when do you find such deals? Is it through a certain website or just in?
There are websites where you can do it. I've never actually used the specific websites, although there's people out there who only travel by house sitting. They just basically go wherever they get a free place to stay. And I've seen people end up in just amazing homes in the countryside and really loving life there. The way I did it was just through friends. So I just put the word out that I was looking to house sit for somebody. And then the house with the dogs, that was through Craigslist. I wrote up a thing on Craigslist and said, I'm looking to house sit for a couple of months in New Orleans. Here's who I am. Here's what I do. Here's references if you need to contact them to make sure I'm trustworthy. And that's pretty much how I got it.
Interesting. That's interesting. So this helped you save a lot in terms of rent.
Yes.
So you saved for the travel and for the life after the quitting your job. And okay, now moving to your 26 days on the cargo, right? 26 days?
Yeah, 26 days.
And you wrote a book about that. Can you share with us some lessons? And on the book page, you said the highs, the lows, and the lessons learned. So are there any interesting experiences or stories or lessons that you would like to share with us that may inspire people to follow their passion or simplify their lives?
Yeah, sure. Well, the book it's called The Cargo Ship Diaries because I wrote it on the cargo ship. And so it's kind of split between flashbacks about my trip, the 2.5 years traveling, but then also writing about the actual experience on the cargo ship. So one of the things that I found really really great on the ship was I had no internet. So I was offline for those 26 days. And that was really good for me. I'd never, you know, I pretty much grew up with the internet. Like when I was 12 or 13, we got the internet at home in my parents' house, and I was addicted from then on. And so this was the first time I really had a lengthy, clean break from it. And it's something I hope I make myself do every year now, like give myself about a month offline, because you really give yourself time to reflect. And, you know, on the internet, there's constantly things vying for your attention, and you always feel busy and like there's more to do. So when you completely cut that out for a while, you get a real sense of space, and you don't feel like there's as much scarcity or as much hurry anymore. So that was a big takeaway for me, and I'd really encourage people to just schedule time away from the internet. Maybe not 4 weeks, that's a bit extreme, but you know, give yourself conscious breaks from the internet and let yourself breathe and reflect and not feel rushed. So that was a big lesson for me when I was on the ship. I think the biggest thing I learned overall, Tohami, was from all my travels is just how people are people everywhere. Like most people are good, and most people are content with the simple things. Like it doesn't take a lot to make people happy. And I really saw that in Iran, just how happy people were without very much. Or India might be even a better example of that, because India, you see a lot of extreme poverty. But even within that, you see people who are smiling and laughing, and they seem pretty happy, even though they don't have the big screen TV or the great job or, you know, all these status symbols that we often strive for. And just the importance of family and friends. I mean, I'm often asked if I get lonely, because I travel alone most of the time. And I do sometimes, definitely. It helps that I have an online community. That helps a lot. But what I'm really starting to feel I miss out on is having that core group of friends who really get you. Surrounding yourself with them physically. I mean, it's one thing being connected with them online, but having them there physically to hang out with, to have dinner with, just to talk to whenever you want. I think that really adds a lot of value to your life, and it helps you achieve your goals. So, I mean, travel is great. You get a lot out of it, but there is definitely a trade-off. So for people who aren't traveling and who might want to, you know, try and appreciate the trade-offs or the advantages of staying put in one place for a while, because those are definitely missed when you're on the road for quite a while.
Amazing. Niall, thanks a lot for the inspiration, and I think for people to know more about you and your work, it's at ndoherty.com.
That's it.
So it's ndoherty.com, right?
And there's one thing I would say, if people, I'm very into tracking and breaking things down, and one thing I've been doing for 3.5 years now, pretty much since I quit my job, is tracking every dollar I earn and spend. Yeah. I do a monthly report on my website showing people this is exactly how I spent my money, this is exactly how I earn my money. So people might find that interesting to see, because a lot of minimalism and simplicity is making sure you're investing your time and energy and money in things that you really value. And so when you track expenses like that, you very quickly see if your values are lining up with your spending. Yeah. So if people are interested in that, if you go to my website, sign up to my mailing list, you'll get access to all my monthly reports.
Awesome. That's awesome. Anything else we would like to share at the end? Any words of wisdom from your 2.5 years of traveling that you would like to leave us with?
I guess the main thing I would say is, I mean, especially as related to, I mean, the content of your site, is I've kind of touched on this already, but simplicity it's not about depriving yourself of anything. It's about becoming very clear about what you value in life and what you really want to get out of life, and then cutting out anything that doesn't align with that.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of people think when they see you're going without possessions, you're really simplifying. They feel like you're a bit of a martyr, and like, why won't you let yourself enjoy the nice things in life? But, you know, the reality is those nice things often get in the way of what you really want.
Yeah.
So I guess my message is to reassure people, or to encourage people to ignore those criticisms. And as long as you find it meaningful and that you feel like you're aligning yourself with things that you really value in life, then it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you very much, Niall, and hope to meet you again after another exciting journey across the oceans on another cargo ship. And maybe you write another book called The Cargo Ship Diaries #2, or the second version.
Across the Atlantic, maybe.
Yes. And we get to know more interesting stories from your journeys. Thank you very much. Take care, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Tahami. Thank you very much.